Hello, hello, and welcome, good people. Welcome to another edition of the Gaswa Outreach Show. I am super delighted and excited to have you all join us one more time. So we say Akwaba, Yamamunina Akwaba, or Yamamunina Akwaba, Samasaba, Yempire Bonise, Ene. We are really, really hopeful that today's discussion is going to benefit all of us. Today, what are we looking at? Today, we're going to be looking at a very, very important topic. And I am hopeful that we are all going to really, really enjoy this. Please leave us a message and let's know whether you can hear us loud and clear. And I want to see our people joining already. Oh, Anstance, boy, Anstance is the first to join. Anstance, leave us a message. And thank you very much for tuning in. Yes, today we have an interesting topic. For weeks, people are asking us, that you've told us about all the various types of abuse. You've told us about the things that we are not supposed to do. What do we do? So today, together, we are all going to find out. Please, we are all the same. We are all learning from each other. We are just one step away from somebody who doesn't want to do something. So we are all learning together. So don't think that we are here saying that we are experts and we will be, we are better placed than anybody else. So please make sure that you invite your friends. Make sure that you invite your colleagues. Please, when you come to, leave us a comment. Like us so that every time we go live, you will get instant notification so that you'll be part of the Gaswa Outreach family. We are super excited every time that we see people. So already we have about 6 people watching us across the various channels, and that is quite impressive. Oh, yes. Our Vice President is also watching us. Yes. Hello, Madam Laura. Please also leave us a comment, leave the guest a comment when you come through. So we are quite excited. So we are going to be right back. All right, welcome once more time. Oh, yes. Lorietta. Hello, Lorietta. Thank you very much for tuning in. We are super excited to have you. Oh, yes. Hello, Madam Laura. Hello, and hello to you too, Lorietta. You guys are super quick. You are the first ones to join in. So we are very happy to have you. All right. So today, what are we discussing? What are we talking about today? Yes, we've said that today we are going to look at the topic of positive good enough parenting and alternative methods to discipline. Have you had a conversation with your child that has gone like, oh, Dad, can I go on my iPad? And you say, no. And then the next question is, why? And you are tempted, or you say, because I said so. Or because I'm the adult and you have to listen. I don't have time for this. Come on, get away and go and do as you are told. Have you had conversations like that with your child? What are the consequences to some of these things? So please join us soon. Mr. Samoa, if you can hear us, you've got 2 devices turned on. Can you turn one off? Because we're getting feedback, please. Yes, so wonderful. Come and join us as we get into today's conversation. I'm going to be bringing my guests on very soon so that we are able to have a good discussion. Hello, everybody. Please unmute yourself. I've muted you in the process, so please unmute yourself and talk to us. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
All right,
yeah,
all right.
Great to be here.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll be going around to introduce our guests as we always do. Yes, some of our guests are regulars now, and they've been a few times, and some of our guests are new to the Gaswa family, and I hope that they're all going to have a wonderful time. So let's start with Madame Isha. Hello, Madame Isha.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And thank you for coming back to our show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, and again, how important is this topic to you?
My name's Ish, as you know. I'm counsellor and parent coach and play therapist. And this topic is incredibly important to me. As you know, that's how I coach parents about training their children and bringing their children up and building relationships with their children. And I come not just from a place of where I've been qualified to do it. I come from a place of parenting my own children. I have 3 children, from the age of 41 to 26.
Wow.
So I have many years of experience, and I come from a place of how I've got it wrong and to get it right. Because many times we think the professionals get it all right, but we don't. Sometimes we get it terribly wrong. And as professionals, sometimes we are the worst kind of parents because we make ourselves so very, very busy. We miss out on our children because we're so busy doing other things. We don't always have time for them. So I come from a place where I've missed out on my children, and I've had to realize that and realign myself with my children. So that's the place I'm coming from tonight, where I've got it wrong. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. And yes, a lot of people are joining in. Yes, hello to you too, Nana Amwakon, and hello to you, Madam Iris Amoa. Hello again to yes, and Nanaya Japoma. Yes, last week you were here, and you are here again. Thank you very much for tuning in one more time. We really, really, really appreciate that. Oh yes, keep up the good work. Yes, we are. Thank you for the affirmation. We hope to. Oh, Nana Efriye Edupoku, thank you very much for tuning in. Oh, Madame Latifa Jones. Oh, last week you were on fire. Thank you very much for tuning in again. So we are very grateful for everybody tuning in. We have about 18 people already joined across the various channels, and we are super excited. And thank you very much for that. Oh, Dr. Tedham. I hope that you finish your staycation, because I'm jealous. I've been seeing you, Yes, thank you very much for tuning in, Dr. Tedham. Yes, Akosia, hello to you, Akosia. Thank you very much for passing through. Please, as we go along, share your comments, because I believe that this is a community. No one person is a repository of all experience and knowledge, and I believe that we are all going to be learning from each other. Oh, yes, Madame Yabwachua, our organizing event lead. Please, thank you very much for coming through. Yes, yeah, you find that funny. Yes, I know. I'm so jealous. All right, so thank you very much. Now let's go on to our other guests before we bring in our regular. So let's welcome Madame Irene. Hello, Madam.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Gaswa Outreach Show.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've been following Gaswa and the interesting topics that you've been raising. Okay. So it's really good work and quite informative. So I'm glad to be here, being a part of this panel. I am a lecturer in social work, so I've practiced with children and families in social work, and kind of working with parents and children who are at risk or risk of abuse, at risk of harm. So the topic is quite pertinent because you see that at some point we're overrepresented in the social care system, and so you wonder, what is that about? And if we can support each other so that we don't get to that end, that is really good. And so, it's a topic that is really close to a lot of people, I would imagine. I haven't got as much experience being a parent as Isha there, but my oldest is 15, and I've got a 13-year-old as well. So, as you go along this route of being a parent, you get things right, some you get wrong, but most importantly, it's a learning process. And so for everyone that's involved, people want to know, how do we get it right? And so let's share, let's talk, let's have the discussion so that we can figure it out together.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for those words. We need to share, let's talk, and let's learn together. We are all here to learn. Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Edujenfi. Look, you are one of our future panelists, so get ready. You'll be coming on soon because you've been avoiding us, but we will make sure we get you. So, Dr. Edujenfi, thank you for tuning in. And Madam Hindiatu, Sandra, well, thank you very much for tuning in, and all the wonderful people who are tuning in. Please, when you come, please leave a comment. Leave us a comment. Definitely leave us a comment. Yes, good starting point. Thank you very much for the comment. Oh, yes, we're excited. We can't wait. Yes, we are also hoping. And yes, indeed, parenting is a learning process. Thank you very much for all your wonderful comments. Last but certainly not the least, this is a man full of wisdom and experience. I think that he's got a nickname and he's got a lot to big shoes to fill. So hello, Mr. Martin Asamoah, aka Martin Luther King.
Hi. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back on the platform again. My name is Martin Asamoah, or you can call me Martin Luther King. That is what people who are close to me refer me to as. I'm a senior practitioner. I've worked in the children and family service for about 7 years. My experience is mainly about safeguarding children and family services. I'm particularly interested in this topic for tonight, and I'm hoping that at the end of the session today, I will be able to bring theory into practice and help bring out the two skills and strategies for our families, our parents, that they will be equipped to understand their children better, and all of us learn from each other to be better parents for our children. That is what we are here for.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for those wonderful comments. And we are all hoping that we're going to be learning. And I also want to take the opportunity to again acknowledge, all the comments that are coming through. Madam Latifa Jones is saying that if only there was a manual. Oh boy, there's a manual for everything. There's a manual for driving. But if only there was a manual. So I absolutely agree with the comments. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Ghanaian Social Workers Association in the Midlands, called GASWA for short. And as we have been saying that before lockdown, we're going into churches, into communities to do preventative work because we didn't want to see our children ending up in the care system or on child protection plans. And better still, what we want to do is we want to be better parents. If we may have had negative parenting experiences, but we want to make sure that we are better parents. So we're saying that, look, if you want us to come into your churches via your Zoom and via the various ways that you are fellowshipping, please do make it a point to invite us on these numbers, and we will try and honor your invitation. We'll try and honor your invitation. So yes, we are going to be going into our topic for discussion very soon. And again, once again, we're looking at the topic of positive parenting and alternative methods of discipline. So I'm going to start the conversation with Madam Isha, if it's okay. And I'm going to ask that, what are some of the, I would say that the pitfalls and mistakes that we make as parents?
Okay, I'll look at the pitfalls the mistakes I made. And when I first became a parent, like someone said, there wasn't a manual to teach me. And I had been brought up I had very negative experience. And one of the things I didn't want to do was to raise my children the way my mum raised me. And sometimes you can try so hard not to be like a parent that you actually become like them. And before long, I realized that I was like my mum. And one of the pitfalls is trying to parent the way that you were parented. Not only that, it's parenting from a place of pain, from your own distresses. And I didn't realize that for years I was parenting from a place of pain and from my distress. And I was being very strict with my children, with my child, because I lived one daughter at a time. And it took 12 years before I realized that I was parenting badly.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a real pitfall for me. And I had to catch myself and say, that's not the way to do it. If you were to meet my daughter, she was very quiet. She was the quietest child in a room. You know, she was, because he was.
Hello. I think we're having some. Your device is frozen there. So if you could, refresh and come back in, Madam Isha, you were just talking about, your experiences, and your screen is frozen right now. So if you can come back, that would be good. We're hoping that you can go off and come back very soon and to join the conversation. As we go along, before we bring back, let me acknowledge, oh yes, our outreach lead is also joined us. Madam Angela Pia is watching. Harriet Owuku, thank you very much for joining. Madam Harriet, it's a pleasure to have you in the house. We have other people also watching us. Mr. William Ejapon is also watching. Thank you for tuning in. And somebody has joined us and left us some nice comments. Yes. Yes, good evening, everyone, and good evening to you too. And then also, Ashley, thank you very much for passing through. We're hoping that Madam Isha would be able to reconnect because her device did log off. All right, so perhaps maybe as she tried to reconnect, let me move on to Madam Irene. And
yes,
yes, let's carry on with the conversation, and then when she comes, she can take it from where she left off.
That's fine. I think Isha was making some really, really valid points in terms of the pitfalls that I think we make as parents, having been brought up in Africa, the majority of us, is we try and parent in the same way as we were parented. And that may be a good thing if the style of parenting was a positive one. And children were actually allowed and given the opportunity to explore, to express themselves, and to really have an opportunity to have a voice, to have a say, and contribute to some things around the house. But the danger is that majority of us, I think, would agree that we were parented from the kind of authoritarian style where what mom and dad says goes. That's it. You don't ask how, you don't ask why. You are there to listen, to accept what you've been told, and to move on with it. And in a sense as well, I think even in education and things like that, that is how we were somehow conditioned to believe was the right approach. But then if we are parenting in the UK, and kind of in other international countries, what we have to take into consideration is children are taught from a very young age to question why, to analyze their surroundings. For them to able to make sense of things, they need to explore, they need to ask the right questions, and they are taught that in school from a very early age, from as soon as they join kind of the childcare facilities. The actual word has come out. It's not kindergarten, but like our creche facilities that we have, and they are taught to question. And they do that respectfully as well. So it's allowing children to have a voice, to be able to express what they are feeling, to express what they are thinking in an environment that allows it. So one of the pitfalls that I have identified, that certainly I have seen, is that style of being authoritative, that no, what I say goes. There's no rationale. So it doesn't make sense to the children. Why am I being told this? And you notice children asking why, and they don't get the answers. Yes. Which then further confuses them, because they can't understand why they're being told to do certain things, why they aren't allowed to explore as their friends perhaps might be. So that's one of the things that I can start off with in terms of the pitfalls from our families.
Thank you very much for that. Absolutely. We're hoping that Madam Isha will be able to reconnect very soon. Yes, that is a very good point that you make. Asama, Auntie Irene, can I say? Say, Akoye say, ye ma ye bano, mano, a quine cry. Omuni, a nibia, omuni, quenya biao, Casemu with ye. And one say, the American and Osana, we are collaborating to the American. And one, no. Into no say, a quenya be anyone who say, Obano Krabebusa said, that na mama, that getting na wokan yoking. Yakaya, and say, no, no. Just a idea a hard pie into a man colano crea into Mincasa. Yabasha, Yakoson and Susan Swamben pan, or Yawa Yamanaso. I didn't need this uncle and a dear man, you bit me in one, you bit me as a son. So thank you very much for those comments, and I tried to interpret. Somebody is saying that what would you say or recommend to be a nice balance between how you grew up and how you raise your kids in the diaspora? We'll be hoping that we are going to be covering that topic and that aspect to seeing the disparity between how we were raised in wherever we come from, whether it's Africa or the Caribbeans or Asia or wherever we've come from, and in comparison to how we raise our children here. I think that is a valid point. Mr. Asamoah, can I bring you into the conversation?
Hi, thank you. And I would like to thank the previous guests, Sister Irene and Auntie Isha, for their wonderful initial submissions. Very powerful. I just want to add few points, okay? So, as parents, I think it's very important for us to recognize and understand that children are the experts in their own circumstances. Yes, as parents, as grown-ups, as adults, in terms of life experiences, we are advanced than the children.
Yeah.
But the children are the experts in their own circumstances. So it is very important as parents for us to recognize and accept that children, no matter, regardless of their ages, also have voices in the family dynamics. In the absence of this, you are creating confusion in the house. You are creating chaos. So, as Sister Irene submitted in her earlier submission, that we should recognize that children's voices are heard. For example, in meal planning, in holiday, in all important decision makings, we should not impose our views, our wishes on the children. So these are some of the important pitfalls that we need to recognize. Also, each child is different. Even if you have twins, if you have siblings, very close ages, okay? They are different. And as parents, we need to recognize this. Every child has different developmental stage.
Yeah.
You may have maybe 2-3 years or teenagers. They will present in a different way. So, as a parent, in practical terms, this is where it is really important for you to identify and recognize some of these dynamics and then adopt your approach of parenting to suit them. In the absence of this, unfortunately, you will be creating chaos in the house. And then you then turn up to say the children are the problem. In my practice, in my view as a social worker, I always challenge parents that there is nothing like a bad child, or in our local language, Akwadaboni. There's nothing like that.
Yes.
It is we the parents, we the adults, if we sit back and assess our parenting, our approach, we will see that we are sometimes,
Yes.
and in most often, we are the problem. Okay. For example, a child may be having some slight, moderate, or severe learning difficulties. Some of them may not have even been diagnosed yet. You may not be aware. So you, the parent, in terms of your communication skills to the child, you may be confusing the child in terms of your approach. Have you recognized that? Not. So these are some of the important areas that as parents we need to look at. Let me take you back home. As we were growing up, I remember this very well.
Okay.
For example, I am very poor, very bad in mathematics.
Yeah.
But extremely bad. Give me all the life sciences, social science subjects, I'll blow it. But when it comes to anything maths, take me out. Then you go to school. First thing in the morning, the teacher, you know, these multiplication tables, they want you to recite it.
Yes.
They haven't given you the foundations, the basics for you to develop on.
Yes.
They want you to perform magic and learn it. And they use cane.
Yeah.
What are you creating? You're creating chaos, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So these are the areas that as parents, we need to look at. Again, I repeat, in my practice, I challenge parents when I'm doing parenting programs and parenting assessment that I refuse to accept that there is something called a bad child.
Yes.
There's no such a thing like a bad child, or a child may present a challenging behavior. But if you as a parent, you sit back and understand the child, you will be able to find a way of communicating to the child to bring up a better child. That's my initial submission.
Thank you very much. Yes, there is a lot in there, and you've mentioned a lot, and people are agreeing. And please, can I say to our viewers and our wonderful followers, when you come on, if you write essays, it will cover the whole screen. So keep your comments short, brief, concise, and sweet. All right. So somebody's made some very important comments there. But for instance, if you put it on the screen like this, it's cover the whole faces of our guests. We don't want that. So please make sure you keep it in smaller bits so that we can be able to consider the points you are making. Madame Latifa Jones remembers this very well. I mean, for me, I always say that those teachers, when they are frustrated, when their wives don't give them what they need on Sunday, they come on Monday and they come and release their frustration on us. Those who are deprived, so they come and they say 6 times 5, and then they start hitting us left, right, and center. That is what the experience that you were relating to. Madame Irene said that she had a comment to make, but I want to come back to Madame Isha, who unfortunately the internet decided.
I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. So you were making a very important point before you left. So can we give you the opportunity to finish what you were saying?
Yes, I was looking at me parenting from a place of pain, not doing any different, and trying not to parenting like my mother, but parenting like my mother, and didn't catch myself until my daughter was about 12, and I realized this is going all wrong. My older daughter is very, very intelligent, and she went through private education and to a grammar school. So she was in one of the best schools in Birmingham. And then she started to misbehave, mainly because she had no freedom at home. And when she misbehaved, I went to the school and said, well, should I take her out? They said, no, it was the best place for her. But then I knew that I had to change. In order to keep her in that school, I had to change myself. I had to re-evaluate and relearn my skills as a parent to begin parenting differently and not do it like mum. But I knew nothing else, and we make assumptions with our children that as we bring up, that we believe that they have no voice. And I had no voice in my family. you know, we were seen and not heard. We even walked around the house on eggshells, just in case we made a noise and we'd get a slap, you know, because my parents parented us with a belt, all kinds of belt. We were hit for no reason. They didn't have a reason, and we were just not hit. We were beaten, you know. So although I didn't chastise my child in that way, I still didn't have the emotional intelligence to be warm with her. I dressed her, I clothed her, I sent her to school. She was fed, but I didn't have that emotional connection. I didn't have that bond with her, and that's the pitfall. Some of the pitfalls we have. I didn't have that conversation with her that she needed to have as a child. So she learned to be a hermit at a very young age, and not to have a voice. So hence when she went to school, that's where she lashed out. Like many children, when they go to school, they lash out because in the home, they're muted in the home, and which is what was happening to her, you know, and always assuming that my daughter was okay with how I was parenting her, but I wasn't doing that. So I didn't have any healthy boundaries as such in the house, which is one of the things that we need to have. You know, the pitfall one of the pitfalls we don't have healthy boundaries. We have just discipline and punishment, and they're not healthy for our children. And not only that, one of the things I caught myself doing is when my daughter, because she was so bright, I wanted her to be a doctor. And I realized then that I was trying to live my dreams through my child, and I had to really pull myself back. And that's another pitfall. It's a big pitfall when we assume that our children want the career that we want for them, and they don't. It's a pitfall. And even in my counseling practice, I get a lot of students who come in from university, and they say, this is not the career I want. And it's a big thing. So we make assumptions for children. That's what they want, and it's not what they want. And one of the things my daughter said wasn't one of the things pitfall was, she said, "Mom, you avoided having difficult conversations with me." And I said, "What do you mean difficult conversations? You didn't talk to me about relationship and sex. You didn't talk to us about those things."
Coming to that, yeah.
Because we avoided those things. Another one said to me, she said, "Mom, you know, you are using the church as a substitute, and sometimes we use the church as substitute for our parenting, and we put the responsibility on our church and pastors and ministers rather than taking responsibility for ourselves." And these are things that my children have pointed out to me, the mistakes I've made, you know. And another thing they said to me was we have this thing about children should automatically respect us, but parents have to earn their children's respect. It's something you earn. It's not something you demand. But these are all the things that my children pointed out to me in later life, and I realized, and that's where I'm coming from, some of the pitfalls that we make as parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you very much for highlighting all those things, because we're going to go a little bit deeper in most of the things that you've raised over there. And before we, I want to come back to Irene to carry on. She had a few other comments that she wanted to make. And then we launch into something that is also very similar, because we've talked about it. Children are seen but not heard. So some of the misconceptions that we have. And to answer a friend saying, Irene Bebemuno, Auntie Isha, I see. Just in some baby, no person a banu a doctor. No a disappointed doctor no angasa. Entino any chinchina ope where doctor. If you're not calling a crime and Sunny money be no pay. Or see in some you Nick higher ding. Yabeshe, if you say Yakosuno, Yabeshe sa in commona, Nick higher the Niquia befasuna, it may be sa in common. So thank you very much. And I'm coming to Madam Irene right now. So finish some of the comments that you wanted to say, and let's launch into some of the misconceptions we have about parenting within our communities.
Yes, and I'll try to be brief as well, because I know the time and we've spent quite a lot on this question. But just wanted to highlight, in most African countries, we've got this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Yes.
Yes.
But one of the pitfalls with that is that we become very complacent or too trusting of others around us to support us with that parenting role. But not everyone will have those good intentions. And so it's really, really important for us as parents to actually avoid that danger and be very, very cautious with who we leave our children with, for how long, and in what sort of an environment. So, we have to talk to our kids as well to try and understand the relationships that they develop, where we have left them. And if they tell us, they're not comfortable, we have to pay attention. We need to listen to that, because we sometimes rely on, kind of the cultural beliefs, the religious beliefs that we hold, doing good for each other. But sometimes that's not always the case with everyone. So we do have to be mindful about that. And I think just a last point that I wanted to make around that is the role of men in parenting, because traditionally in most African households, you find that the fathers come in as sort of a measure of discipline, when things perhaps have not gone as they should. And so the father is there to kind of correct it. So, I would like to encourage families to work together in undertaking that parenting role, because we've kind of moved away. Men were traditionally viewed as the economic providers, but a lot of research actually shows that men are now moving on to holding those sustainable relationships, emotional connections with their children, developing those bonds, and fathers now having ongoing relationships with their children, even if there might be frictions with the mother or mothers. So that's quite important, to maintain that role of a father in parenting.
Maintain the role of a father, definitely in parenting. I think that gives us a topic. That's it, Mr. Samoa. Please, let's prepare, and then I'll bring in a woman too to make sure. But we'll be talking about the role of fathers. I think that is a topic on its own. So we'll be looking at that. So, Mr. Samoa, let me bring you into the conversation. In terms of some of the misconceptions, somebody is saying that children are not heard, they are not allowed to talk, and we don't even listen to them. As one of the comments that's been made there. Thank you very much for those beautiful comments. Doctor is saying yes, the role of men. She agrees with that comment. And yes. That is the comment that was saying that, yes, they are seen, heard, and also not even listened to. Yes, you're absolutely right. And somebody is saying that very true. It's dangerous. We have to we can't trust our children with anyone. And the person is agreeing with you, Irene, over there. So, great points being made about, in regarding to leaving our children to so-called trusted neighbors. Yes, absolutely. And yes, a lot of people are agreeing to those comments that the role of men is very important, and it's something that we need to be looking at. And yes, and Anna Free is also saying fathers are absent in most of the homes, and that we're going to be looking at that. People are jumping ahead of us. That is wonderful. The positive role of parents, yes, and also men. Please remain involved in our children. Yes, we are going to remain involved. I mean, as Irene said, that there is a lot of change. There's a lot of positive change. So and we are changing as men as we go along. And most of us are also learning from experience. Mr. Samoa, let me bring you into the conversation.
Okay. So I'm already overwhelmed the way the discussions are going. Okay. So within the African community, or within the Black community, everywhere we find ourselves, okay, there are a whole lot of misconceptions about parenting, how we understand children, the way we relate to children, okay. For example, there are some important conversations that, as parents, we need to start having with our children from the early stages at age-appropriate levels, okay? For example, talking about sex organs to your children is really important.
Body parts.
Body parts, okay?
Yes.
At age-appropriate level, okay? So, NSPCC have started some programs. So if your child happens to go to a school where they have such a program, then you'll be lucky. But if your school don't have such a program and they don't do what we call protective behavior work with your child, that child is extremely vulnerable, because if you don't have such conversations at home, you don't tell your child, hey, this is your body part. Nobody should, for example, this is your breast, this is your private part. Okay, so as a parent, you should be able to find appropriate language, whether in English or in your mother tongue, to explain to your child at age appropriate level. This is really important.
Yes.
At age appropriate level, what their body parts are, how they can protect themselves. That if anybody, uncle, brother, whoever touch that part of the body, okay, help daddy or mommy, you should implant this into the child's brain right from very early age.
Okay.
So whoever touches or abuse that child has already gained the confidence and trust from you, the parents.
Absolutely.
And will be able to tell you. This is why we have a lot of child abuse within the community, but we don't talk about it.
Yes.
So these are some of the misconceptions in our community.
Yes.
Okay. For another one that I want to talk about,
yes,
is the issue about sex and relationship. Okay. Let's all go back to our childhood, from the ages of 6, young children, teenagers, young adults. Okay. We find it extremely difficult to even open a conversation about relationships, about anything to do with sex, relationship, in front of adults. But here is the case. Whether we like it or not, we will grow up to form relationships.
Absolutely.
We will marry at some point. But let's be honest with ourselves and ask this question tonight. How many of us, no matter where we were brought up from, no matter how good our home, our parents are, did our parents sat down with us to teach us about relationship?
That leads us straight into the next.
We grow up, then as adults, we jump straight into relationship. The only time that we have is if you are a church goer, then the pastor will do 3 months, 6 months marriage counseling. Okay? And then you go into something fundamental, something important in our lives. Then we all know the difficulties that we are having in our relationships because we don't learn, and our parents don't impact onto us from the beginning of our lives.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is wonderful. Can I start with you as Madam Isha gets herself set, to come into the conversation? He said a lot of things, and before he was just finishing, because if we didn't stop him, I think he was going to talk forever today. But he was in the groove, when somebody's in the groove, you don't want to try and even stop them.
That's right.
He mentioned relationship.
Yes.
How is that important? And somebody said that in the misconception that we don't even listen to our children. So how is it important for us to have a relationship with our children? And why is it more important that we listen to them?
It is very, very important, Kwaku. I think we can't emphasize this enough because that lends itself to avoiding potential abuses that might happen. Even, in the communities that we live in, there's grooming that occurs, child sexual exploitation, things like that, peer pressure, where a lot of Black youths, Black young boys end up in gang-related crimes and things like that, even just as accomplices. And the amount of stress that then that brings on first the child, but also the family as a whole, in trying to support, a child through such experiences. So I think it's really, really important that we maintain and create an avenue for open and honest relationships with our children, where they know that they can come to mom, they can come to dad and talk about literally anything. So have that environment from an early age where you encourage discussions. A lot of families I know will have family meetings. Encourage the children to actually come with an agenda, for this family meeting. What are your concerns? What do you find maybe works? What can we do more of? When we're making decisions, do you actually feel that you are being listened to? And a close friend actually said to me the other day that get children to write down minutes of that meeting, something that binds, that shows that we've agreed on something, and they can hold you accountable. As parents, we should be able to allow our children to ask, oh yeah, but mom, you said this, and now look, you're saying something else, because that can betray their trust if you say something and then you do something else. And when other people then take advantage of that, when they go outside of those four walls and it happens to them, it can lend them to that sort of abuse and others taking advantage. So it's really, really important that we try and create that sort of relationship where we nurture them and we guide them, we teach them, because our role is to be teachers. We are educating them, we are paving the way for them so that they can have and start establishing their own identity as well. But they learn from what we give. They take from us, and so it's really, really important that we encourage those sort of open relationships. Nothing should be taboo to talk about. Nothing should be
taboo to really talk about. You are absolutely right on that. Yes, I know that Madam Isha is having a few technical issues there. She's trying to sort herself out. I can see her. Before I bring her into the conversation, I would want to go on to talk about a few of the comments that have been made. There are a few comments that have been made by our guests that we want to introduce. Yes, somebody is saying that, yes, we need to include the children in the discussions within the family. That is even interesting, because the other day my son reprimanded me. He was saying that, Daddy, you sit on Gaswa and talk about all these nice things, and then you come here and you are making the same mistakes that you talk about. So he was listening. So actually, yes, my son is listening. So I'm also equally accountable to them. Yes, so it is important that yes, we make sure that we practice what we preach. We practice absolutely what we preach. Madam Angela Pia is saying that the role of fathers is inadequate in the right now. It is the BIMA, the Black Asian minority, ethnic and refugee groups. Is saying that it is quite inadequate. I think that we need to step up as fathers. And then Madam Latifa Jones is saying that having regular family meetings really help to open up, honest conversations with our children. So that is absolutely important. We're hoping that Madam Isha would come back again, because we're having some difficulties there. And Shaz is really agreeing with that comment as well. Obaya, who is also our deputy welfare lead from Gaswa, is saying, please, parents, let us learn to have conversations with our children. We want to do so. Yes, we'll carry on with the conversation as Madam try to come back. Martin, how important is having a relationship with our children, and why do we have to be listening to them?
Okay. So these are some of the points that Irene has already mentioned. having positive relationship with your children is not only helpful for their emotional development, it also helps them to develop emotional intelligence, which is really, really important. Because as adults, if as a child you didn't, your parents did not help you to regulate your emotions, you grow up and then you act in a way with no emotional intelligence. So it's really important that right from the beginning, at very early age, you have a very good relationship with your children or with your child. It's really important. Okay. If in terms of the dynamics, even if you're an absent father, okay, when there's a relationship breakdown, you can still find a way of having that relationship with your children, even if you are not living with a child, okay? And this is where we also have to be mindful as parents that to be aware of the impact of parental alienation. If there's a breakup, I know we have had a lot of bashing from some of the comments, we the men, understandable, is true. Most of the comment, the lashing out, the bashing is true as fathers. But at the same time, as mothers also, with all due respect, also have to also recognize and acknowledge that when there's a breakup, there's pain, there's a sense of loss on the part of the parents or the fathers also. And of course, the mothers bear a greater part of the pain, having to raise children on their own. Okay. But no matter what happened, please, as mothers, let us not try and work the children against the fathers. It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely, extremely dangerous. Okay. No matter what difficulty it is, no matter the difficulty in terms of the breakup, let's not bring our issues, adult issues, onto the children.
You see, Martin, we're going to be talking about that, and it's one of the things that we wanted to look at later on today. But I wanted to focus on what are the benefits of listening to our children. What are some of the long-term impacts that can have if we do not listen to them, and also when we do listen to them?
Okay, so listen to the children. One, as a parent, okay, you can also be like a physically present at home, but not emotionally available. So emotional availability, listening to the children. By doing that, you become a mentor, you become a teacher, you become a counselor. Everything that the child needs at home. In the absence of that, the child will look somewhere else to fill that vacuum, especially teenage children. Okay, and that is where the problem comes. So if you're a father, if you're a mother, especially the fathers, if you are not emotionally available to your children, if you don't provide that listening ears to your child, the child will look somewhere else. And that's where you see some of our teenage boys forming gangs. But if you have very good relationship with your child, I know sometimes it doesn't happen on a few occasions, but if you have a very good relationship with your child, okay, it will be very difficult for that child to look somewhere else. Okay, the child may have friendship as well, but as a father, as a mother, you should be a friend of your child. You should be your child's mentor and everything, providing listening ears to your child at all times. We should not, as a father, we should drop that ego that when you come home, there's that sense of silence at home. Okay,
Yes.
my father was a great man. Okay, I'm not going to sit here to denigrate my father. No, my father is a great man. I respect him a lot. But
Yes.
it's a generational thing. Okay, that those days we will be happy at home playing. I have a large sibling group. We'll be playing. The moment the man step home from work, oh, the house is silent because the master has arrived.
Yes.
We should not create this atmosphere
Okay.
at home. No, you know, your children should be happy,
Yes.
pleased to see you at home. You should form that emotional connection, emotional attachment to your children.
Okay, Mr. Samuel, if we don't stop you, I think you'll be talking forever. And you are making very, very good points. As I'm not canning the Hunyapa, and some not can Hunyapa say, you know, money a young kofa. It is in some way a woman colano soon dosu libre. And to me, try say a name colano, ebe wo a young kofa. It just in colano timid. Yes, we are timid and colano. Hunyapa. I want to bring Madame Isha into the conversation. I don't know whether Irene has even had a stab at this already. But I'm going to bring Madame Isha into the conversation. And thank you very much for trying so hard to come back, because I know that the technology is playing up, and we do appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
No worries about that. It happens. One of the things that is said, is that one of the consequences of not listening to our children or not giving them opportunity to express themselves is that when they are adults, when you ask them anything, they look for validation somewhere else. They have no confidence in self. There is no self-confidence. All they do is that you ask them something, well, I don't want to get it wrong. I'm not too sure about this. And they are wishy-washy in most of the things that we do. How, from your perspective, as a counselor, as a parent coach, is the importance of relationships, having a relationship with our children and listening to them?
It is really important. It is key. Building a relationship with your child is key. You have to remember that your children are people and that they grow up. And the way you parent and your parenting style can either make them or it can break them. And even if your child decides to continue with your ambition, not theirs, your ambition, and become a doctor, you might find that they're really unhappy people in their professions. You haven't listened to them. You've just spent time many parents in my age group are very authoritarian, disciplinarian, and you did as you were told, and you had career that they said, because you hadn't listened to them, you hadn't built that relationship with them. You were, they were afraid, you undermined everything that your children did. They had no voice. There was no room for negotiating. There was very little nurturing in the family, and you had such high expectations. But yet your children left home with absolutely no emotional intelligence, so they can't carry themselves. They don't know how to manage themselves. And, the majority of young ladies that I meet, they go into unhealthy relationships because they're looking for something that a father figure didn't give them. And they go out looking, and a lot of them, they end up giving up their bodies more than once. They end up in situations where they are taken advantage of over and over again because they are searching for love. It's only when I meet them and I ask them their value, and they start to put a price on themselves, and I stop them and say, no. I said, well, ask me the question. And they asked me the question. I said, well, I'm priceless. And it's about putting that self-worth. They leave home without self-worth. And they engage in also unhealthy relationships because they're looking for that love. I have 3 children. I have brought up 3 strong women, 3 very careered women. I don't think I'll have any grandchildren for now because they're not into that. So I'm going to be a really old grandmother. because they know who they are. But if you haven't had a relationship with your child, they go out, they don't know who they are. And if you don't have a good relationship with them, they will go out and they'll have a relationship with somebody else. They will allow someone else to parent them, you know. And to be totally honest with you, let me be really upfront with you if I can. Is it okay? All you listeners out there, if it's okay. My father passed away 4 years ago. I just about barely had a relationship with him when he passed away. My mother is still alive. I love her very much. But if my mother had a funeral today, I wouldn't know what to say.
Wow.
I wouldn't know what to say. I have nothing to say because I never developed a relationship with her. And she's now come to the stage where she's got dementia. I can't develop a relationship with her. She has lost that. We have lost that. And because of that, I've gone out of my way to make sure I maintain my relationship with my children, because it is key. You know, no man should come into your house. If you're a lone parent, listen to this, women out there. If you are a single parent, do not allow a man to come in and take the place of your child, because I see it all the time in my counseling where men come in or women come in and take the place of their children. No, your child comes first. They didn't beg to be born, and they come first. And it is imperative that you spend quality time and family time with your children. It is imperative that they know that home is always a place I can come back to and not be resentful of coming back home. This is imperative to do.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. And I can see that you know, this is quite important to you. And you know, I can really tell that is absolutely important to you. I would want to address something that has been raised by Mr. Frank JC there. We want to make sure that Mr. JC understands that we are not putting parents down. We are not here to say that, you know, because our parents made some mistakes, we are here to put them down. We are here to learn from their mistakes. Absolutely. I think that you also alluded to that. So I can see that you are, you know, getting a bit worried about the fact that we're saying a lot about parents. But if we are not prepared to change our perspectives, if we are not prepared to accommodate new ideas, we will never change. The idea is that we are not coming here to just listen to these comments and not go and make a difference. So that is why it is important that we take in some of these new ideas that are being thrown at us. We also want to move on and talk about the different styles of parenting as we go along. And I want to bring in Madam Irene into the conversation. Madam Irene, you know, if you can unmute yourself, I think you're muted right now. And there's some feedback also coming from our guests. So if you can mute yourself for the time being, we would appreciate that. Madam Irene, let me bring you into the conversation in terms of the different styles.
I think the one that is most familiar with a lot of African parents will be the authoritarian style. You can see that parents parent from the objective that they are right, that they know it all, they are older, they are wiser, and so the children have to listen to them. But actually, we need to move away from that, as we can see from all the discussions from tonight. And what we need to do is start accommodating other parenting styles. You know, how can you be permissive? How can you be persuasive to your children so that they actually do the right things, so that they are able to also listen to you? And then we're not, perhaps instead of being authoritarian, you can be authoritative, perhaps. So you allow a bit of flexibility. You allow the children to have some discussions. You allow them to contribute in decisions, you know, around things that happen within the home environment. You allow them to form an identity, because as children are growing up, they're figuring who they are. They don't want to become who you dictate they should be. And so it's very important that we take notice of how we are parenting. And as parents, it's actually important to do a lot of research as well.
Yes.
What's out there around, you know, the sort of different parenting techniques that you can employ, because it's a continual process. We can never know it all. So it's really important that we keep researching, because the children that we are raising are exposed to a lot of things, through internet, Google. They can just type in so whatever topic a friend has told them from school, or what the teacher has said, and then they type in these loads of information, loads of resources, which is not often the correct information either. So it's being mindful of, we are raising children who are exposed to a lot of information really on their fingertips. And so, how do we ensure that the information they are getting is also the right information that will be helpful for them as they are growing up? So that really means we have to keep reading, we have to keep researching, we have to know what is out there. How have things evolved in terms of maybe some of the legislation that's around when you try to discipline children, for instance. And so that will make you aware that actually, we can't be parenting from a place of complacency. So we have to keep raising our own awareness and really engaging in new ideas so that we can parent effectively. I think that's one of the things that I can say in terms of parenting styles.
Okay. I would want to bring Madam Isha in, if you can unmute yourself into the conversation. Yes, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the other parenting styles, and let's move on, because I know we have a lot of grounds to cover today.
Yeah, I would agree with what Ari just said about the parenting authoritarian and the permissive style, because the permissive style is the uninvolved style, because believe it or not, there are parents who actually don't know what to do. They actually don't know what to do. So their children are just left. Yeah. And they're left to bring themselves up, really, because they haven't got a clue. And I do believe in educating them. They should educate themselves. I do believe there's plenty of materials out there. I believe if they need help, then they should source help, because we have this thing as Black people, is that we're very proud, and we should know. And we're very proud. We don't ask for help when we need it, and we suffer in silence. We do that a lot in silence, and I do believe that we have the authoritative parents who are quite reasonable, as we've heard. They communicate well. They have healthy relationships with their children. We have to realize that what we have, millennial and Generation Z, they call themselves. A generation, they're really out there. They have a different way of doing things. And we have to, not necessarily, because I really do believe that we have to remember the boundaries. Yeah, there are boundaries, but we can also sit and communicate with our children. We don't have to be helicopter parents, because we have some helicopter parenting. And what that means is that you're over your child, you suffocate them. They can't move, they can't do anything at all, and so we helicopter, we go from one extreme to the other, and we have to be very careful. We have to be involved in their life without being overly involved. We have to have a sense of authority without being overly authoritative. And we also have to recognize the disciplines that we have. We have to have our positive discipline. We have to know the difference between positive discipline and negative punishment, because there is a difference between the two.
Please tell us.
Okay. Positive discipline is teaching. It teaches and empowers a child. It enables a child to make informed choices, safe choices, and to be confident, and to feel their self-esteem, and to know their self-worth. Negative punishment, it disempowers the child, and it builds resentment, and they become defiant, and they choose particular behaviors because it annoys the parents. And they repeat the behaviors over and over again, and you cannot connect with them. So there are types of discipline, and we have to be careful about the two types of discipline that we use. One will inform the child's decision and push them into their destiny, and one will hold them back and stagnate them.
Thank you so much for those wonderful comments, and also I want to acknowledge all the comments that are getting in. There's this man, Mr. Frank Jesse, who's causing some controversy in the chat room. I think that he's trying to pull people's legs. in there. But hopefully, I am hoping that you'll be able to learn something today before you go. So, Mr. Jesse, thank you for all those wonderful comments. Now, this is tough. These are difficult questions. If you are a Christian and your son or your daughter comes to you to say, Mom, Dad, I don't believe in Christianity anymore. I want to be a Muslim, or I want to be a Buddhist. Or better still, your son comes to you and say that I am gay. Or better still, as you rightly said, Isha, before, you want your son or your daughter to become a medical doctor, and they want to be an artist. They want to be a footballer or a musician, or they want to do something entirely different. How do you, as a parent, handle these difficult questions? The questions are many. So I'm going to start with you, Irene. You take one of them, and then we, somebody else will take one of them. I know that these are indeed frightening questions for all parents. For all parents, they are frightening questions. So, no because you're saying you be a sorry no cramming copy. What sorry no cramming? Say no. Hey, Matuba. You only pray that they are not being radicalized, but the Matuba to say no or your cremoni. And I say that media to say the Oja Obama na me permit so near Bema. And I say, oh doctor no fa over. Me person me artist, me person me draw. A coin ben or befaso. So Irene, let me come back to you so that you start the conversation for us.
Yes, Kaku. Very, very, very hot topic, if I can put it like this. And something that will be very difficult if parents are not prepared in how to have a positive response. So you can actually push your children away from doing that. The reason why I'm saying this is because of how our culture is. We expect, so I'm going to touch on religion. We kind of expect that our cultural beliefs should automatically be our children's beliefs. But sometimes it doesn't really work like that because, our children evolve into adults. They're exposed to different ideas, and they hear different things. And this actually happened in my home because my son is 15 and he said, Mom, when we had Ramadan just gone, he's like, I want to explore Islam. I don't think that I want to be a Christian anymore. So I would like to see how it goes. And it was one of those things that it shocked me. But I think a really important thing when children share such thoughts, or maybe difficult experiences, is for us not to show them our shock and, how maybe the displeasure that we have got.
Sometimes you can't help it.
Yes, sometimes you can't help it. But if you show that displeasure, if you show the shock, then perhaps follow it with an explanation. So what I'm saying is, it's a discussion. Try and understand why your child is now deciding to be Islam, which is what I did in this case. Okay, so I don't know a lot about Islam, and I wouldn't be able to guide you because what I do know is Christianity. So what I know, what I hear is maybe just things on the surface because I haven't gotten into it to that level that I can be able to guide you and support you with this. So think about it. Are you going to be able to stop, eating pork? Will you be able to manage all of these things? So when you start posing some of those questions, when I started doing that with him, he sat and he was listening and he was thinking, and he's like, okay, well, I don't know. But I didn't stop there. I say to him, you might actually need to speak to someone who understands this subject better than I do, because
Wow.
I'm not going to be able to guide you. How do I tell you what I don't know? So I can research, I can look at people maybe that can support you, maybe that have, that are practicing, so that you understand and you have a better idea of when you are making that decision, that do you really want to convert, you are making that from a point of an informed decision. So you're not just running into it. Because for him, I was rather worried that just because his friends were fasting and they were encouraging each other, oh, let's do it, and I actually said to him, that might be a mockery for the people that are doing it genuinely. So you have to think about the reasons why you are doing that. So just allowing that discussion, and for him then to go and maybe speak to other people, and for me as well to speak to other people that have got enough knowledge around Islam. Then we come back. And so it's like, okay, so I say to him, do you think you might need, how much time do you think you need? He's got, maybe 1 week. So we came back again. So what have you thought? What's the decision? What have you decided? And he said, no, I don't think I might. I don't think I'll progress, because I don't think I can actually handle it. Maybe when I'm a bit older. And so for me, that took away that space to say to him, until you are quite older and you're, kind of able to make those decisions yourself, then you can do that. But a lot of parents would be like, not in my house, and shut off that discussion altogether. And then he goes away feeling, I haven't been listened to, and I don't understand why my mom doesn't want me to be practicing Islam, and that can have an impact. So he wants to know about it even more. Do you see what I mean? So I think allowing those discussions will be quite helpful in such situations, but we can never get it right.
Wow, thank you. That is impressive. Let me bring Mr. Samoa into the conversation. Please unmute yourself and have a stab at these difficult questions.
Let me drink water.
I think you need water.
Okay. I sincerely hope and I pray that by the time I finish my submission, I'm not going to lose friends.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be very brutally honest and speak my views.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. These are very sensitive.
Yes.
Topics. We have to understand and acknowledge that.
Yes.
Culturally very sensitive. Okay. But we have to face it. Okay. First of all, from my own experience as a practitioner for many years within the child protection and frontline service, okay, I have encountered many cases where parents from broad spectrum of ethnic diversities, Caucasians, Asians, Black Caribbeans, Black Africans, where they have found it extremely difficult because of their religion, because of the family values, to accept the sexuality of their children.
Yeah.
I have personally dealt with these things many times in my career.
Yes.
Okay. My experience, this is not me. I'm not going to sit here and impose my values on anybody. But there is some basic principles in life, okay, that we all have to acknowledge, that we live in a society where we have to be governed by the law of the state. What does the law say when it comes to sexuality, gender, race? It's non-discriminatory, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is where, as community, as individual, as society, where our values, our personal values, our religious values may come into conflict with the laws of the state. Okay.
Yeah.
The children that we are bringing up, yes, we have legal right over them. We have parental responsibility. The children are, we are the guardians of our children. We have to guide them.
Mm-hmm.
So when your child come to you with that difficult question,
yes, how do you handle it?
How do you handle it? Are you going to jump straight away? Not in my house.
Well, that's an
the
automatic
moment you
response.
do that, you have thrown your child under the bus. Okay? Remember the law also. So ethical, moral dilemma, and the legal dilemma that you face. How do you manage it?
Tell us.
Very, very, very important. So, in my case, when it happens, what I do is I try to explain the responsibilities, the legal responsibilities of the parent for the parents to them. Okay, but whereby the parents cannot accept, that's where, on behalf of the state, social services can step in. And I have become like a corporate guardian on behalf of the local authority for many teenagers in my case. Okay, so this is where we have to, if you're a church goer, if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, or if maybe because of your moral values, you cannot accept certain sexuality and you throw your child away. Morally also, you know what you have done.
Yeah,
okay,
you can lose the child. The child can leave your household.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we need to be very careful. But personally and professionally, I will say we have to have broad view of each, balance and broader understanding of the society that we live in. Okay? You can be a very good Christian and embrace others, regardless of their sexuality, regardless of their religion, regardless of their race. We as Black people, we are always fighting for equality, for acceptance. Should we also discriminate against others because of their sexuality? That is the question I want to end on.
Right.
On the issue of sexuality.
Yes, you've posed some very, very difficult questions. Indeed, Isha, let me come to you. I mean, these are questions that it's every parent's nightmare. If we are going to be practical and realistic about it. So have a stab at it.
Okay, I come up against this all the time. I have young people in my practice who are transgender, lesbian, gay, and they come in. I have a duty to treat them with respect. I also have a duty. Many of these young people are suffering rejection already. They're ostracized from their families. And we can only change people via love if we call ourselves Christians. The Bible tells us, this is what it tells us, that we train our children up in the way they should go. And when they're older, they will not depart. And I would question how well as Christians we train our children, because I have 3 leaders who are not easily swayed. They lead the group, they lead the pack. That's how I've trained my children. And it is important to train up your child because the world is tough and there's a lot out there. And if they're not trained adequately, then when they go out, they're easily swayed and their minds are easily changed. Yeah. So if we want to keep our children in check, then this is why it is key to have a relationship with them where the conversation is had all the time, where they can come home. And I'm glad that Irene talked about her son, because she's the type of mother who had that openness where her son could come in and talk to her. We have to have this difficult conversation. There are difficult conversations to have. And what you cannot do is shut your children down. Even biblically, we cannot shut our children down. There has to be room for them to express themselves, room for them to have this very crucial conversation. If your child comes home and you cannot answer them at that time, is to say, give me a minute, give me a couple of days, and you go away and think about it. But the worst thing you can do is begin to scream and shout at your child and tell them to get out of your house. And what you said is, you said already, you will push them outside more into something that they don't want to go into. Yeah, because you get, it's the world we live in, and we have to choose to have these difficult conversations. No matter how well we bring up our children as well, there are some choices that we cannot make for them when they reach an appropriate age. And even in their careers, you know, and I would say to parents, sometimes you need to back off a little bit. You need to really back off and let your children make their choices. Not every child is academic. Yeah. And some children are just very practical. You put a bit of wood in their hand and they will make a table. You put a bit of wood in their hand and they will make a fully fledged kitchen. But they're not academic, and you're pushing them into things that they don't want to go into, mainly because of your own status, mainly because you want to show off, mainly because you want to relive your life through them. Mainly because when you go back to Africa, or you go back to the Caribbean, you can say, this is what my child is. But what they don't know back in Africa and what they don't know back in the Caribbean is that your child, yes, they're the doctor, they're the clinical whatever, but they're unhappy. Yeah. So give your children choices. We have choice. Even the Bible gives us choices. Yeah. So if the Bible, the God that we serve, you know, who made everything, gives us a choice, why is it that parents find it hard to give their children choices? There are some things that are out of your hands, and all you have to do is parent them with love, and hopefully they will turn around. And that's the most we can do. But we have a duty to treat people with respect and respect their decisions that they make when they're an appropriate age.
You gave an example in our conversation about this. I would say that this student, medical student, who at graduation brought the certificate.
Yes.
Brought the certificate to the mother. Share that experience with us.
Okay. It's a true story, and it's a medical student. Mom wanted him to be a doctor, and he wanted to be an engineer, and he didn't want to disappoint his mom. And it was culturally, he had to do as he was told. So he went 6 years of doing his degree, and got his degree with flying colours, and he was a doctor. And he actually, at the graduation, he walked off the stage, walked down to his mom, who was sitting at the front, and he handed her the certificate, and he said, "Mom, this is for you. I've waited 6 years of my life for you. Now I'm going to be an engineer." And he turned his back and walked out.
Wow.
And that's the impact of a parent pushing a child to do something that they really don't want to do.
We want to touch on this briefly, but Mr. Asamoah, do you want to talk about your experience? Because I know that you also had a personal experience about career choices.
Yes, I do. So as a young boy, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I'm still a Catholic anyway. So I don't like self-revelation. So I was an altar boy, mass boy, that they call it. So I went to the seminary, and then my mom was so proud of me, wanted me to become a Catholic priest. Okay. So when I decided not to go ahead, that was when my relationship with my mom started to, go. Yeah. So it took a long time for us to re-establish the relationship again. I don't want anybody to go through that. As a child, I had a very good relationship with my mom. I was mommy's boy and all that. But that particular decision, affected her so much because, in those days, every parent wants to see, your son is a Catholic priest, Yeah, mama is no longer with us. But if I had gone ahead to do it, whatever impact on my life, I will be facing the consequences, okay, not her. So it's very important that as parents, we guide our children in terms of career choice, decisions around their career, and even relationships, okay? But we do not impose it upon them.
Thank you.
Really, really important.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you could see that, practically speaking, we should have been wrapping up right now. But please give us another 5-10 minutes, because there are two important topics that we want to look at briefly before we wrap up. Yes? So please give us a little bit of time, because when our guests are sharing their experience, we do not want to stop them. So please, we talked about this. We talked about this as a whole topic about the impact of separation and divorce on children. I would want my guests to briefly touch on the absentee parents, because a lot of people have questions. And as we were going through, I saw the questions coming up about single parents, about the other parents. So let's touch about that briefly, and then we'll go on to the alternative methods of discipline before we wrap up. All right, so let me come to you, Irene. Let's come on to that topic of the absentee parent.
I think it is really, really critical to ensure that the parent who is not there, who is no longer within that family environment, the family home, still maintains a part in parenting the children. So there has to be negotiations of how to co-parent successfully. This is not about the adults involved. That's one thing that I think as African families, we need to get right. When we separate, it's about us, it's the adults. We haven't been able to manage our differences or, whatever has happened, but that shouldn't affect the children. So we need to learn to be able to put our children first and allow the other parent to still have a contribution in the upbringing of those children. Because when it's a mother and a father, both have roles that they play and they kind of complement each other. So as best as we can, we do have to manage that. And imagine if you've got a son, for instance, and dad used to be the one to take them to football, and mom doesn't know about football, doesn't like football. The impact of losing dad, Eden Hazard, whichever player that they used to have, that child is gonna miss that. So there's that grief and loss which comes with that loss of attachment, that loss of closeness. So it needs to be molded. It needs to be always be building it up, and allowing that sort of contact helps in terms of that grieving process to become a lot easier. So it's about putting what is in the best interest of the children, and then separating that with whatever is going on with the parents, so that the focus still remains on the children. I can't emphasize this enough, because it has an impact on how children then grow up to establish their own identities, their kind of own individual positions in life as well, because it scars them. Some of these losses can really scar them, and it sticks with them, and they'll think, oh, mom went, or dad went, they abandoned me, they don't care about me, maybe they've got another family, what about me? So they chose another family over my family. So you can imagine that the amount of damage that can do to a child.
Thank you
also
very much.
while I'm on that point, just quickly, that grieving process is very different for children as well. And if a child decides that maybe at this moment in time they don't want to see the absent parent, we shouldn't force it either. Yeah. And it's not really about when there's good communication, and things are really open and kind of transparent, the absent parent should understand as well, because maybe the child is going through a lot of emotions. They're really vulnerable at that particular point, and for them it's easier maybe not to see mom, not to see dad, who's now living in a different place. So allow them to go through that grieving process, and they will surely come back.
All right, thank you very much. Can I bring Madam Isha into this conversation, please? And briefly, because we have the alternative discipline to also touch on.
I do. I'll totally agree with what Irene has said there. I'm laughing because I have a case like this at the moment. And the absentee parents just turned up after a few years and then wants the children back. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And the children are playing piggy in the middle of, and he's just come back, and there's just confusion and havoc in the household at the moment. So when they haven't seen the dad for a long time now, I suddenly want access to them. It's a nightmare for the children. So I'm in the middle of that at the moment, and I'm watching children being destroyed by two parents. It's devastating. There has to come to some resolution. And like Irene says, it's not about you as a parent. It's about the children, and you need to take them into consideration first.
Thank you. Mr. Asamoah, do you want to touch on it?
Briefly. So what I will add is this. Whether we like it or not, separation, divorce do happen. It's part of human nature, okay? But how we manage it so that the impact on the children can be minimized as much as possible, okay? It's really important. Let's not bring the children into adult issues. Let's be adults and children be children. Briefly, also, from practical point of view, when after separation, there's that stage, grief, that period of grief period and all that, okay? We don't have time to go through the stages. But when after the move on stage, where each parent feel that you are at the right place to form a new relationship, very difficult time. It's always important to consider the children in your next step, okay? Especially if the children are still in their formative years because of attachment issues. So, because I'm a man, I'll start from the man's point of view. Could you please make sure that after the separation and you meet another woman, you want to start a new relationship, please, it's important to make sure that before you introduce the new woman into the children, or introduce the children to the new woman, at least make sure that this new relationship is an established one. Likewise, the mothers, because there is issue of attachment here. The children are still at their formative years. They have already suffered grief, trauma. You bring the new person into their lives, they start to form attachment, which is a natural process for children. Then, because you didn't manage to get to know this new person very well, I know it's a very difficult one. You can never know, and then within few months or weeks, this new person has disappeared again. That is double trauma for these children. If they Yes, so these are some of the things that we need to manage it well. That before you introduce children into your new partner, make sure you've done your exercise well. That is a established relationship. You don't bring children, the new relationship into the children's lives, and then a few months later, the person is gone. You are harming the children.
Part 2 will come to I think so. We have another part 2. So we have a few part 2s that we have lined up. And I think that what you are talking about is something that we have to spend a lot of time on and digest. Now let's look at alternative methods of discipline a bit. And if I want to start with you, Mr. Samoa, because you are there, because I don't want to go around and come back to you. So you might as well start. And I think that you had something to show. I'll try and show it right now let's see whether I can be able to do this.
Yeah, if you can show it, then I will not open it from another side.
All right, then. So yes, I'm trying to share this right now. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So you've got some points there. Do you want to go through them?
Can you start with the other one, please?
The other one.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me stop sharing then.
Okay.
Let's attempt. Yes. Go on. Start.
Yeah. So these are some of the resources, practical parenting guide resources that I use for some of my parenting programs for parents. Okay. Yeah. And the feedback and the outcome that I get really positive. Okay. So I'm not sure if people are able to see from the screen.
Okay. So can you quickly run through that because of time, please?
Okay. So these are just 12 alternatives, methods or approach to use instead of lashing out at your child at home. What we got to understand is that every day there's a pressure at home, financial pressure, all sort of pressure at home. But before you lash out to your child, please try all these simple alternatives which work better. Okay, number one, before you lash out to your child, take a very deep breath. And another one, then remember that you are the adult in the dynamic. Okay, the next one, just close your eyes. You are angry. The child has broken something precious. The child has done something terrible. You are so angry. Okay, so before you lash out to the child, just close your eye and imagine yourself hearing what your child is about to hear. If it is okay, say it. If it's not, then you will stop it.
All right. Next one.
Next one. Okay. Press your lips together and count number 1 up to 10. If you're still not able to regulate yourself, count up to number 20. It will help you.
All right.
Next one, briefly, put your child in timeout chair. Okay. Remember this rule: 1 timeout minute for each year of the child. Okay.
All right.
Then the next one, put yourself in timeout chair. You're putting yourself in the child's shoes. Put yourself in timeout chair. Think about why you are angry.
Okay.
It is your child, or is child simply convenient target for your anger? Okay. Ask yourself this question. If it doesn't help, you can phone a friend, have a conversation. Okay, relaxation.
Okay.
If someone can watch you, if someone can watch the children, just go out for a walk, take a breath. Okay, and then come back. Or you can take a hot bath.
That can be very difficult, isn't it? Especially if you are stuck at home. Anyway, so wonderful points. Wonderful points. We're going to spend the whole day if we go through everything. So thank you. Very wonderful points. Let me come to Irene. Any quick points about what we should do if we are feeling like hitting out or lashing out?
I think Martin said very, very pertinent points in relation to calming down. Okay, that's very, very important. And one of the best things, even as adults, that we should do amongst each other when there's conflict, take some time to calm down. And one thing that I would like to add, smacking, we should know that it's never a good thing, particularly when we are living in the countries that we are, and it traumatizes children. We were all talking about the maths. I think it was Martin who was talking about the maths and how he still remembers the cane. But look at how old Martin is now. Yeah. So these are things that stay with us. So anything that can be less traumatic. So, there's lots of ideas out there, and you can discuss with your children, talk to them about that. So when something has happened, what are the consequences of your behavior? What are the consequences of bad behavior? And it shouldn't be just linked as discipline, but I think we need to have a system where we actually reward and acknowledge when things are going right, and make them age appropriate. Make sure whatever methods we choose, they're also balanced with whatever action the child has done. So teaching our children that there's consequences for behavior, whether it's good behavior or bad behavior, is very, very useful, because then, when they can see the rewards for good behavior, surely they will tend to want to do good as well. So it's acknowledging that and having that discussion, So this is what has happened. I mean, now my son is 15, my daughter is 13. At points, I actually talk to them about, so, what do you think now? What do you think should happen? What are the consequences of your choices that you have done? And they will come up with things that they will say, oh, yeah, but please don't take my phone and don't do this. And so if I really want to make sure that they understand they don't do that, that's what I will do. I will take the phone and I will say, okay, that's the thing that you don't want. So to me, that shows if I actually take it, I will explain to them as well. So if I take it, you're going to have a think about your own behavior. So they'll often think about, what could be the worst. So I have to put it in parallel with, what has been done. If they haven't done the dishes the night before, I'm not going to take their phone for a day. I'll probably just take it for 30 minutes, 1 hour, just make it balanced so that they can see and they understand the rationale behind.
It has to be proportionate, isn't it? Wonderful.
Yeah.
That was a balance. Yes, Madam Isha.
Yeah.
Let me come to you.
I would totally agree with what everyone has said so far. I think in your home, you need to have very clear boundaries and consequences. And I think the children need to be a part of creating those boundaries and consequences. They should be a part of that. That should be done in family discussions. And I think if your child has done something wrong, then you sit them down and you explain to them in stages why their behavior is unacceptable and why there's a consequence to go with that behavior. And I also believe in taking away their privileges. But one of the things I would say to parents is be consistent. Be very consistent in consequences. Be very consistent. So if you're going to take a phone away, and you say, I'm going to take your phone away for a day, don't take it away and then an hour later you run upstairs, you can have your phone because, you feel sorry for them. Be consistent. Consistency is one of the worst things that parents can do. The children will think you're a joke. So whatever you're going to do, be consistent with those disciplines.
Don't say it if you are not going to go through with it. Don't say, so be consistent. Be consistent. We are going to be wrapping up, ladies and gentlemen, because we've taken a lot of your time. We do appreciate that. And thank you, because there are almost 30 people still watching us. So thank you very much for your patience. We do appreciate that. I want to wrap up and have your final comments. Can I start with Madame Irene? How do we create the right environment for our children to thrive in?
I think it's really, really important for us just to consider that what we put into our children is what we get. So, Aisha was just talking about the consistency. And it's very important to understand that children learn from us. So we talk about social learning theory. Children learn from what's around them, their surroundings. What you tell them, they won't pay attention to, but they pay attention to what you do. So it's really important that we are not people who come from a place of, you do what I tell you, but we have to actually practice what we are saying. That's the best method that children can actually learn. And by so doing, we have to keep the positive relationships, have an open, honest discussions, so that we're creating an environment that children feel safe within the family home, that they feel, if things going on.
Okay, so we haven't internet issues. You're frozen right now. We have an internet issues. So yes, you were making very good points. I'm hoping that the internet will resolve itself. Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. All right.
I'm here.
Point. Yes.
Yes. So I was just saying that would be the most important points for us to keep an open, honest relationship where children can feel safe within the family home, so that if something ever happens or they've got some concern, some worries, the first people that they would want to talk to is mom, dad, and share whatever is going through in their lives.
Thank you very much. Can I come to Mr. Samoa for your final words in terms of how we create the right home environment for our children to achieve to their maximum?
Okay, so what we have to understand that children that will always have different needs according to their ages. Children are different. We have to treat our children as unique individuals, no matter what. Okay, even if they are twins, they are different. So treat them and see them as such. Anything that will serve as a barrier, as a boundary between your children, the relationship between you and your children, we as parents, we should always seek to remove those boundaries and barriers and create home environment for the children to thrive emotionally, physically, for them to achieve positive outcome in their lives. We should be mentors to our children, teachers. We should be the first teachers to our children. We should be the pastors. We should be ultimately friends to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Yemfa yemana fufu. Yenya sofo fie. Yembo amu okwan bia so. Yemmo amu kwanya na omuntimi endum pempenso Nyankopon pese omudru. Medase. Can I come to you, Madam Misha, as you give us your final words?
Yes. Create an environment, a positive environment for your children. It's not about luxuries that you have in your house. And one thing I want to say to parents out there is if you're going to create a positive environment, a thriving one, is to make a conscious decision that you're going to enjoy the journey of parenting. That's where you start from. Enjoy parenting. Doesn't matter what's gone wrong, let's put it aside. And from this moment, you're going to enjoy parenting, because your children don't have long. Yesterday they were born, tomorrow they're an adult. It's as quickly as that, and you would have missed that and all the quality things that you could do with your children. The quality time, have open communication in your house. Home must be a place that they always want to come back to. That's home, that place. And for parents, practice saying sorry to your children. Apologizing to your children. You're never too big to apologize to them, because it will help them in the future, in their future relationships. And another thing I want to say is that this is something that we don't often do as parents. Have fun. When was the last time you had some fun with your child? You sat on the floor and you read a really good book together. You sat down, you played a game, and you painted your faces. In my house, my house looks like a playroom. Any child can come into my house and have fun. When was the last time you painted or did some coloring with your child? Have fun, relax, come down. Put your perfectionism outside, push it away, and just have some fun with your child. Make your home a fun home. There's nothing worse than a toxic home for a child to come to every day. Have fun with them. And that's the last thing I want to say. Just have some fun. Be a child.
Have some fun. Say you are
Definitely.
sorry. Wow, we can go on and on and on and on and on. And thank you. We already have about 31 people who are still patiently listening to us. And that is a testament that this topic is very important. And that's a testament that this topic means a lot to people. Look, what are we saying here? What we're saying is that today's topic may have erupted some, emotions. They might have brought some negative feelings to you. Maybe you've gone through something. Don't suffer in silence. Look, please talk to us. We are social workers. We are trained. The GASWA, we are all trained social workers. We are all qualified social workers. Talk to us. If you don't want to talk to us, there are a lot of counseling services out there. One of them that I want to particularly emphasize is Luminous. That's Luminous Counseling, and the number is out there. And guess what? Madam Isha Johnson, who is one of our panelists, it is her organization and it's a counseling service. So please make sure that you contact Luminous Counseling, and let's not suffer in silence. So please make sure of that. And as we say, we are GASWA. Contact us, for all your programs, whether it is Zoom or anything. And some of these topics that we are treating, we'll try and bring it to your door. Maybe your church members may not want to come over to watch us here, but they want to do it in the comfort of their homes and the comfort of their Zoom space. Would come there. What can I say? More comments coming out. Yes, yes, have fun. People are agreeing. Yes, Madam Latifa is saying that, yes, thank you very much. Great topic. Fun, like Ampi, like Owari, like Ludo, like Dame. These are Ghanaian, games that I hope that you guys will be able to bring some here so that we do it. Like the Ludus, yes, yeah, these are fun. It brings nostalgic feelings. Keep up the good work, and thank you very much. And yes, and thank you very much that we need to have fun. So what can I say to my guests? One more time, we are so grateful. We are eternally grateful. It has been an interesting topic. And actually, this is one of the topics that I'll be going back to watch and learn for myself, because I've got children who are also watching and who are going to hold us accountable. Oh, so just in time, Madam Irene's internet has decided to leave. So goodbye, Madam Irene, wherever you are. I hope you can hear us. Goodbye to you. Because your camera is gone. All right, so goodbye. All right, let me also take this opportunity to say goodbye to Mr. Asamoah. Wait, Mr. Asamoah, because when you say one thing before you go. So let's say goodbye to Madam Isha. Goodbye. We'll talk to you later. Thank you very much for your wonderful contribution. Yes. All right, and then finally, we have another topic that we are planning, and I'm hoping that that is going to be ready soon, Mr. Asamoah.
Okay.
Yeah, we planning another topic. So goodbye for now, and I'll catch up with you. All right, okay.
Bye.
So goodbye. Yes. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Normally, a friend saying by 8:30, and then 9, and so into fan chain. So thank you very much. And thank you all. Yes, and wonderful comments. God bless you too. And God bless you, Mr. Pepra, for your wonderful comment. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, we're going to look at that too. So all too soon, we come to an end of another edition of the GASWA Outreach Show. Today, we've been looking at the topic of positive parenting and the alternative methods of discipline. Yes, thank you very much, the panelists, and thank you very much, the host too. We are very grateful. Yes, please, we're not going to waste any more of your time. Look, we are planning programs. We're going to look at the concept of adoption. Why is it that Black people don't adopt? Why is it that Black people don't foster? There are a lot of children who need other homes. Why is it that as Black people, we are shying away from fostering and adoption? That is one of the topics that will be coming up your way. There are also part 2s that are coming up your way. Child abuse and culture is also there. There's a part 2 that needs to look at. And then last week, we also promised that we would have another part 2 of last week's program. So there's so much to talk about. But until then, we want to say thank you very much. Keep safe. and God bless you. And we'll see you again, same time in the coming weeks. God bless you and goodbye.